Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Atomic Snack Bar. And tonight we'll be discussing 5 more wacky retro monster movies. This isn't a ranking our top list, just 5 random monster movies I wanted to discuss due to top secret wacky related reasons. And number 5 on the list is Ghoulies III, Ghoulies Go to College from 1991. Directed by John Carl Buechler, one of the great unsung heroes of B-movies, Ghoulies III is an independent monster comedy. And many have called it the most accurate look at academia since Revenge of the Nerds. And by many, I mean me. And it tells the story of a curmudgeonly college professor who wants to put an end to prank week at his university. And rightly so if you ask me. So using a mystical comic book, he lets loose the Ghoulies, a group of small monsters who want to party, raise a little havoc, and look at some undressed ladies, which many monsters so often do. Just look at the Munchies. Director John Carl Buechler, who I've started referring to as the Paul Blaisdell of the 80s, was no stranger to many monsters, having directed the highly underrated Troll from 1986. And though I do quite enjoy Troll 2, it really does unfairly overshadow the original, which is a wonderful little dark fantasy film. Buechler was not just a director, but also an accomplished special effects artist. His work on Cellar Dweller is one of my go-tos for the power of 1980s practical effects. Ghoulies III stars Kevin McCarthy as our dark arts dabbling college professor. McCarthy is probably best known for his starring role in the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but he was also in The Misfits, The Twilight Zone, both the film and the series, and Inner Space. Next up, I wanted to mention Eva LaRue as our female lead. LaRue is a film and TV actress with some nifty genre film credits as well, including Crash and Burn, RoboCop 3, and The Barbarians, and that's another I will use any excuse to bring up. And lastly, I wanted to mention some of the voice actors behind the Ghoulies. The Rat Ghoulie was voiced by prolific voice actor Bob Bergen, who is best known for voicing Porky Pig for many years. Then we have Richard Kind as the Cat Ghoulie. Kind has done a ton of stuff including Stargate, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and the role I most associate him with, Paul on Spin City. Talk about a great show that never gets any fanfare. And as the Fish Ghoulie, we have Patrick Penny, another voice actor with an impressive resume that includes several characters on Black Star and The Real Ghostbusters. Ghoulies 3 was the first of the series without any involvement by Charles Band, and it was supposedly intended for a theatrical release but went straight to video instead. Numerous people worked on the effects for the film, including Buechler himself and Wayne Toth of House of a Thousand Corpses fame. This is an exceptionally good monster comedy, and is unrelated to the first 2 films in the series, which featured a more serious tone. You can watch this one without any knowledge of parts 1 and 2. It's actually my second favorite Ghoulies film, just barely behind Ghoulies 2. And number 4 on the list is Creature from the Haunted Sea from 1961. Directed by the great Roger Corman, Creature from the Haunted Sea is a comedy creature feature that also parodies spy and gangster movies, and tells the story of an American secret agent who, at one point, rocks an uncannily good fake mustache. He infiltrates a group of wacky characters who have stolen a part of Cuba's national treasury and escaped to sea. But there's some double-dealing and less than honest shenanigans going on. The American crooks start to betray the Cuban crooks and make it appear as if a sea monster is responsible. This one is quite the wacky and even features a payphone on the beach. That's just good thinking. Not to mention a creature that looks like Cookie Monster had a baby with Hedorah from Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. Yeah, I know that's what you dirty birdies want, and I'm here to give it to you. The film stars Robert Towne as our inept secret agent. Towne was a writer, director, and actor. Some of his writing credits include Last Woman on Earth for Roger Corman, Chinatown, and Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. Then we have Anthony Carbone as the shadiest of our shady characters and the mastermind behind the sea monster plot. Carbone was a Corman regular who appeared in A Bucket of Blood, Last Woman on Earth, and The Pit and the Pendulum. Next up is Beach Dickerson as another of our ne'er-do-wells and a character that speaks in uncannily good animal impressions. And yeah, I used uncannily good twice in this same segment. Dickerson appeared in Attack of the Crab Monsters, War of the Satellites, Teenage Caveman, and The Dunwich Horror. And is it just me, or do folks just really not talk about The Dunwich Horror very often? Creature from the Haunted Sea was written by Charles B. Griffith of The Little Shop of Horrors and Death Race 2000 fame. Corman was in Puerto Rico filming the aforementioned Last Woman on Earth. Because of tax incentives and leftover film, he decided to just make another movie. He called up Griffith and gave him 6 days to write a script. And he did, using the same format as Naked Paradise and Beast from the Haunted Cave. Originally, Corman himself was intended to play the role of Happy Jack, which was written in a way to mess with him a little bit. But Corman decided to go with actor Robert Bean instead, who had to fly himself down to Puerto Rico. The filming of the picture took a total of 5 days, and the original theatrical runtime was only 60 minutes. Additional scenes were shot later for TV broadcasts, bringing the runtime up to 74 minutes. This is a film that people so often ridicule and call the monster one of the silliest ever seen. But it's a comedy. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be silly. I think the very spiffy animated opening sequence tells you that right away. And number 3 on the list is Octam from 1971. Written and directed by Harry Essex, who co-wrote the screenplay for The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Octam is a Mexican-American sci-fi superhero film that tells the story of the heroic Octam as he does battle with a group of evil hippies. Beginning life as a mild-mannered freshwater octopus, Octam was exposed to radiation, and much like other beloved superheroes like the Hulk and the Toxic Avenger, he mutated into the titular hero, and thus his journey for justice began. And this is a hero that means business. In one scene, he slaps a guy so hard in the face that his eyeball pops out. And not being content with just that, he then proceeds to throw the dude off of a cliff. He was making sure that Joker was out. As mentioned, director Essex was no stranger to creature features, having also written the screenplay for It Came From Outer Space and Man-Made Monster. Not to mention works in other genres, like Kansas City Confidential with Lee Van Cleef. And the film stars Kerwin Matthews as our scientific lead, who I'm sure you probably all know best as Sinbad from The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. But he was also in Jack the Giant Killer and The Boy Who Cried Werewolf. Next, I need to mention an appearance by Jeff Morrow as another scientist. Morrow should be no stranger to you fine folks out there in snack bar land, having appeared in This Island Earth, The Creature Walks Among Us, and The Giant Claw. But most importantly, we have the Octam himself as the Octam. And his star power and charisma is obvious from just a glance. So charismatic was he that he actually had his name in the opening credits. Not a lot of movies give the monster that kind of credit. That's class right there. But there is a vicious rumor started by the squid industry that the Octam was actually just an actor in a suit designed by the legendary Rick Baker. And according to this ridiculous rumor, said actor was actor Reed Morgan, who played Adam Link on The Outer Limits. Pretty far-fetched if you ask me. Footage from the Octam was shown in both Gremlins 2 and Fright Night, albeit as supposedly different films. In the case of Fright Night, it was Mars Wants Flesh. And speaking of Rick Baker, this was his very first film. Well, if you believe those rumors. And on that, we should take a break. But we'll be back.
Throughout time, people have asked, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Maybe it was a Manglore, like Manglore Demon. You can pretend to hatch Manglore Dragon and Manglizard, too. Each sold separately in a make-believe egg. You can stretch them, squash them, take them apart. They'll return almost like new to their original forms. So if you want to hatch up some fun, you can crack open a Manglore. The Manglores, Manglore Demon, Manglore Dragon, and Manglizard, each sold separately from Ideal.
Number 2 on the list is Frankenstein Meets the Space Monster from 1965. Directed by Robert Gaffney, who is most famous for this very film, Frankenstein Meets the Space Monster is a sci-fi versus film. And it tells the story of a group of Martians who come to Earth in the Epcot Center. And I know it's called Spaceship Earth, but that wasn't as funny. But said Martians have come, as they so often do, to steal a bunch of women, for all the Martian ladies have died off because of a war. All, that is, except for their oddly human-looking princess. They accidentally shoot down a rocket containing an android who then goes wild. And much like my high school graduation, the damaged android ends up battling a Martian mutant. The film stars Marilyn Honnold as our Martian princess. Honnold was an actress and Playboy playmate, having appeared in the June 1959 issue. But viewers of the snack bar probably know her best from The Brain That Wouldn't Die or her appearances on Batman 66 as one of Liberace's henchwomen. Then we have James Karen, credited here as Jim Karen, as one of our leads. Karen, who I've mentioned many times before here at the Snack Bar, also appeared in Time Walker, the Invaders from Mars remake, and Return of the Living Dead. But I'm sure most of you know him best from his groundbreaking role in Hard Bodies Part 2. Next up is Lou Cutel as the illegitimate love child of Uncle Fester and Mr. Spock, who rocks some Cesar Romero-style eyebrows. Cutel was a film and TV actor probably best known for playing the amazing Larry in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But he was also in My Mom's a Werewolf. And yep, I mentioned My Mom's a Werewolf. That's just how we roll around these parts. Then we have Robert Riley as our android who turns into a Frankenstein. And this is really his only role of note. And finally, as the Martian mutant, as well as a Martian crew member, we have Bruce Glover, who is best known for the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. But he's also the father of lovable weirdo actor Crispin Glover. The mutant costume in the film is quite charming, with an almost Paul Blaisdell-esque design, though not Paul Blaisdell-esque construction. Frankenstein Meets the Space Monster was originally released as part of a double feature alongside Curse of the Voodoo, and in the UK it was known as Duel of the Space Monsters. And before I wrap this one up, I just have to ask, could no one have sat in the front seat? Looks a bit crowded there, and I know it was probably for ease of filming, but still, kinda awkward. And number 1 on the list, Spookies from 1986. Directed by Brendan Faulkner, Thomas Doran, and Eugenie Joseph, more on that in a moment, Spookies is a unique, independent monster movie with more unique monsters than you can shake a stick at. And it tells the story of a group of young people looking the party, as most 80s young people did. They end up at a seemingly abandoned old mansion. Turns out, not so abandoned. It's actually owned by a warlock with plans to use the life force of the uninvited guest for his bride. So in order to obtain the life force, he sends out a bunch of different monsters to go get the job done. This is an interesting case all around. It began as another film known as Twisted Souls, which was directed by Faulkner and Doran. But the financial backer, Michael Lee, essentially took the film away from the filmmakers. My UK viewers probably already know of Lee due to his founding of the Vipco video label and its involvement in the Video Nasties era. Lee would then hire adult film star Eugenie Joseph to come in and not only recut the movie, but also to film a bunch of new footage. An entirely new monster by the name of Spookies was born. And you know what? I'm gonna send the Angry Randos into a huff here, but I think the film is all the better for it. Joseph's footage is some of my favorite parts of the film. The only thing I take issue with is the lowbrow sound person who ruined the mud monster scene, and seems to take joy in that fact. The warlock, the Nightcrawler-esque Catman, the zombie scene, all gold. As far as the cast goes, most don't have much sci-fi or genre pictures on their resume. But I did want to mention Peter Iacillo, and man, it took me a long time to find the pronunciation of that, as our fun guy partygoer. Iacillo was a character actor with roles in Street Trash and Day of the Dead. He played what is listed as Elevator Zombie. Then we have Charlotte Alexandra, aka Charlotte Seeley. Alexandra did a few European clothing optional films, including Immoral Tales and Goodbye Emmanuel. Spookies is one of those films I clearly remember watching for the first time. It was a Saturday evening. My dad had taken me to the mall and bought me this little glow-in-the-dark skeleton toy made by Sega. We came home that night and Spookies was running on the USA Network. I missed the first part, but that didn't matter. I popped a VHS tape in, hit record, and was blown away. Other than something like the Super Inframan, I had never seen that many different monsters together in one film. And finally, the poster art for Spookies was done by famed comic artist Richard Corbin. And that's all the time we have for this week. So, Pete, what did you think of the episode? That's fair. I'll try harder next time. Please like, comment, subscribe, watch the skies, and stay atomic.
Has Wayne Newton split with his wife and hit the jackpot with his new romance? Inquiring minds want to know.
I want to know.
Can you lose weight by switching from celery to sweets? This week's National Enquirer tells you. How can you put office troublemakers in their place? What curse of death and disaster haunts the Super Bowl?
It's in the Enquirer.
What bizarre surprises popped up on Caroline's wacky honeymoon? Find out in the Enquirer. Over 100 features for people with inquiring minds.
Like me.